everyone. I'm Captain Logan, and right next to me is my son Jayson, and across the way from us is my very good friend Connor Nielsen. And today we're going to tell you how we felt about Rebel Moon Part 1, what was this called? The second movie, Scargiver. I remember that because they split this into two parts. Child of Fire. When we first saw the title up, I thought it said A Child on Fire, and I was like, oh no, that's unfortunate.
Child on Fire.
Oh geez, this is gonna be violent.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but
this
ironically,
one isn't. But the R-rated version,
ironically,
will
you
be
have
a child on
you have
fire.
to wait till the R-rated version to see the child actually on fire. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Connor, thanks a lot for joining us, man. Excited to talk about this with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My perpetual technical difficulties are making us late again, so thanks for indulging that. But I'm happy to be here.
No problem. We understand. We wanted to make sure that you got to be here because I think this will be a absolute blast to discuss with you. And so Rebel Moon is Zack Snyder's new film. He tried to do a zombie thing a few years ago that Connor and I talked about. I don't even remember the name of that movie. I've been racking my brain all day long trying to remember the name of that movie.
Army of the Dead.
Oh, that's why I couldn't remember it, because it was super generic.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead.
Which was supposed to be the start of a big franchise shared universe thing where they were going to have video games and more movies and I think maybe TV shows and probably breakfast cereals and bed sheets. And then you never heard about that again. But now Rebel Moon, which is going to have sequels in video games and breakfast cereals and bed sheets.
Yes.
And I guess we'll see just how much of all of that stuff ends up
and
happening.
Funko Pops,
but look, it already has Funko Pops on Amazon that you can buy right now, and you can get the novelization, and you can listen to the novelization on an audiobook.
Yes, which is probably either like 5 hours long, because if they describe every single thing that they put in there, and be like, we stared at the blank wall that looked like a moon for 20 seconds.
And that's why this stream is brought to you by Audible. Be sure to sign up with our coupon code GeekPollution at checkout.
Or it's like 20 minutes long.
My guess is Greg Cox probably wrote it. I don't know. I didn't look deep into that. And if Anthony Hopkins didn't record it, that is incorrect. That's just wrong.
Yeah. He should have. If he didn't.
Anyway, we have things to say. This is going to be an interesting discussion. So, like I said, this is just the first part of what will be a over 4 hour movie. It's Zack Snyder. That's what he likes to do. Netflix kind of forced him to release it this way. Originally, by the way, it was supposed to be a TV series, and it turned into a movie for Netflix. It was supposed to be just one movie, and the Netflix went, well, it's going to mess up the numbers probably. People probably won't watch it if it's too long. And breaking it up seems to have been the right call, Connor, because it did pretty well view count-wise. It was #1 for Netflix for a week. I think it got beat out in the second week. I can't remember by what, but it had 34 million clicks. I don't know if that's total or if that's the first week, but it's done okay for them.
Okay. Yeah,
not critically,
this...
but people have clicked on it. People have watched it.
I actually know people who have seen this, which I cannot say about Army of the Dead.
Right.
Because on New Year's Eve, I was actually at a New Year's Eve party, and like the people I was with turned this on like during the New Year's party. No one was really paying attention to it because it was just like on TV, but like they decided to put this one on and not something else. So I think that says something.
Yeah. It at least says something about advertising. I think people heard about this. Walmart had an end cap of like popcorn and stuff. Whereas but a week before it came out, it was like, get your Rebel Moon popcorn. Alex Barron says in the comments, welcome, folks watching live. Thanks for watching after the fact. Appreciate you guys. He says, Snyder must be a really, really nice guy and great at pitching things. That's the only way to explain how he keeps getting big movies made. And we'll talk about that. I think big movie is maybe giving this too much credit, just now that I've seen it and given what it looks like. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
It is I guess I'm showing my hand too much right away when I say this, but Connor, they threw more money at this than I feel like I'm seeing on the screen.
I want to talk about the production elements of this with you because it was interesting. It was something I couldn't stop thinking about.
The budget is apparently 166 million for the two parts together.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Does it though?
Having not seen part 2, and having not seen, I assume, 30% of part 1, I guess we'll see.
Right. No, I've got that too. Because there's at least one, if not 3 characters whose subplots clearly were cut out of this movie.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that.
So, as we always do with these, I can tell we're all chomping at the bit and trying to decide just how much to say right away. So, as usual, we'll lead with a brief synopsis, and then we'll do sign flips. We'll go around, everybody will give a best thing, worst thing, good luck, and then we'll do some more spoilery discussion after that. So we'll keep it non-spoiler while we're doing our sign flips for folks that haven't had a chance to look at it yet, if you're still thinking about watching it. I imagine some folks will probably watch this and will be interested in spoilers even if they're not bothering to look at it, just because it's another fascinating Zack Snyder project after, his DCEU stuff fell apart and bit the dust, and he's kind of groping around trying to find, a big franchise for himself now with original material. This was supposed to be, I can't say it was supposed to be, he pitched it as a Star Wars thing. Just as Disney got as far as I understand it, just as Disney got their hands on Star Wars, he came in and pitched for Star Wars. And it was apparently this premise. And again, I'm trying not to show my hand too much, but my response to that is, so what was the pitch though?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like if you to paraphrase James Rolfe, if you've seen Star Wars, you've seen Rebel Moon without realizing it.
Right.
So I don't even know what the pitch is.
Yeah, because he basically, I mean, not to give much away, but I think most people know this by now. He kind of remade every Star Wars movie into one thing, and I don't know.
Make sure to speak up a little bit because I
don't know how that would be. I actually didn't know that he originally pitched it as a Star Wars thing. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, the way Wiki explains it with the development of the movie is he took this idea and pitched it as a Star Wars project. I'm like, I want to know what the idea is.
Yeah, so I guess maybe where we'll maybe we should, I have so many thoughts on like just the whole concept of this thing, but I have theories. Okay,
sure.
But...
PlushEDX says you watched Rolf's review. No, I didn't know he even reviewed it. I'm just quoting in old AVGN review where he was talking about a Pac-Man ripoff called Taxman, and he goes, "Have you played Pac-Man? Well, then you played Taxman without even realizing it." Jayson, I'm gonna ask you to do the synopsis today.
Okay.
Would you do it? I'm excited, and I'm gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna interrupt you. I'm gonna let you give us your synopsis, or at least of the premise. So make sure that you don't spoil too much.
Yeah. So basically, long ago, or something rather like that.
I will stop you for a second. We don't have any sense of where or when this is, right? Like, it's just another universe.
Long before the events of this movie happened.
Okay.
There was a king and something, and there was...
Connor, would you like to give the synopsis?
So there's like...
You're doing great, Jayson.
So...
you keep the ball.
So like Star Wars, there's like a light side and a dark side, but it's kind of like different like countries, kind of something, like planets that I think they. Does the dark side or whatever it's called in this movie? Do they come from a planet?
You're just talking about it's the Imperium.
The Imperium.
And so the background given to us by I'm not interrupting you. You asked for help, right?
Right, I did.
So he's giving me the ball for a second. I'll give it right back, Connor.
He's tagging it back in. Yeah.
Yeah. So the only way to play this is like a Capcom fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Imperium starts as we're given in voiceover by Anthony Hopkins at the beginning, which they do instead of a crawl. Because I honestly kind of expected this to start with a text crawl.
Me too.
It still starts with the long arm of the Empire ship, but it doesn't have the text crawl. So, we're told by Anthony Hopkins at the beginning,
Yes.
which I didn't, by the way, look at trailers or anything. I had no idea he was in this, and like my brain immediately exploded when Anthony Hopkins starts talking, and he's like, so there was a planet, and there was a kingdom. And they became an empire, but in this it's called the Imperium, because they don't want to get sued. And they mess up all their resources with people with the royalty trying to take too much power, and so then they have to go out into space, and then they take their colonistic nature to space, and they start taking over everything out there, and then eventually the not so benevolent, but relatively benevolent to what the Imperium becomes, King and Queen get assassinated a la like the end of the Roman Empire. And then you have now a much bleaker, darker, scary, like Star Wars Empire type version of it.
Yeah.
Run by a guy named Basarius, who is not Palpatine.
Yeah.
But is Palpatine.
Right.
Okay, anyway, go ahead.
So there's the like, story before the story, and then you get to the actual story, and there's this desert, like village in this desert that it has like really good crops, and the Imperium, and it's run by not Jayson Aaron,
Right.
and it's
That was a good pull.
and then there's also a couple other people who become characters for some 2 seconds, some the rest of the movie. And there are so the Imperium comes to the this village to basically like ask for crops, and then the Jayson Aaron guy is like, we won't give you crops, and then the farmer guy, that Gunner, he's like, oh, we will, and then the leader of the Imperium, I don't remember his name, but the
villain from Deadpool.
Yeah, he kills Jayson Aaron, and
again, we don't want to give away too much. Just give us kind of the basic setup.
Then they get a ship, and they have to form together a team or something.
Yeah, they got to pull together the Justice League.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's
they gotta unite. They gotta unite the 7 samurai.
Exactly.
And bring them back to defend the village.
And defend the village.
And can you tell us a few of the characters that are wrangled together to form?
I can try.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we got the main character, who's Korra, right? And
who is both Rey Skywalker and Luke Skywalker simultaneously.
Yes. And then you've got the Han Solo character, who is Gunner, who's like the farmer.
Yep.
And then you got the Irish guy, who's Irish, Kai. And he's like kind of Han Solo he's like a mix of Han Solo and like Lando as well. And then you've got Turok, and then you've got Cyborg, what's his face, Blood Axe, and then you've got the Who guy, and he's General
Titus.
Yeah, there you
go. I remember
go.
that one. Yeah.
And then you've got the Nemesis,
Yeah, her name is actually Nemesis.
Good job. Hey, good
Yes.
job on remembering that. I couldn't remember that for a while.
Yeah,
Yes.
who is Shakon the Forever Woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you got
That's most
main,
everybody.
yeah, I mean there are a few sites like there's like non-binary person, and then but that's pretty much it.
Well, don't forget about the Pegasus writer guy.
Yeah, Turok.
That's Turok.
Dinosaur Hunter.
My bad.
Yeah, so we were shocked that somehow Zack Snyder got the rights to just make this a crossover with Turok the Dinosaur Hunter.
Yes.
Because, Connor, I don't know if you know anything about Turok, but this guy's name is actually Tarek, which is super close to Turok.
And he's just Turok.
He's just Turok.
Just Turok.
We took one look at this guy and went, they should just make a Turok movie and cast him again. He's just Turok.
He's just Turok.
The first thing he does is tame a pterodactyl. He's Turok.
He's Turok.
It's amazing.
We'll talk about wearing your influences on your sleeve. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, we've taken too long a synopsis. Let's go ahead and start sign flips. And Connor, we're going to let you start, man.
Oh, okay. I guess this should be quick because I feel like I don't have a whole lot to say about the movie itself. Because I guess just sign flip, not feeling it. Because I think my review on Letterboxd just said, I feel nothing. And that was all I said because I watched this for 2 hours and I didn't really get anything out of it. And I was more thinking about like the apparatus around the movie as opposed to the movie itself. I can see myself kind of spacing out a little bit on your end. Can you guys hear me just fine?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're not looking great, but we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't mean that like you have a horrible complexion or you need to take a shower. I just mean, Skype doesn't look the best. Now, when you say apparatus, do you mean the living room it looks like the film was shot in?
No, not necessarily. More like the like
because he doesn't
the
have
pitch.
COVID to fall back on as an excuse this time.
No.
They literally look like they're standing in front of a picture of Saturn.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is
I'm very interested to talk about the production kind of aspect and theorize about it, but I'll say the best thing about this was I can't start with the best thing. So the worst thing about this movie was like the I feel like I didn't even see the movie. And like that's kind of like an interesting thing because I feel like with other Zack Snyder movies, I think he's trying to beat Ridley Scott's record for the amount of the amount of films that have alternate cuts in his filmography. Because this kind of did remind me of Ridley Scott's recent film Napoleon, which I didn't like very much. And that felt like an incomplete movie to me at 2.5 hours, and not because it felt like events from the movie were missing, but that was more a matter of tone, where I felt like a new scene would bring with it a radically different tone, and it just felt like I don't know. I've seen every Ridley Scott movie. He's one of the most tonally consistent filmmakers, even if his movies themselves aren't amazing. They're at least tonally locked tight, and that did not sit in line with his other movies that way. And lo and behold, an article came out or a story was circulating that there's a 4-hour director's cut that'll drop on Apple TV Plus, and that made sense to me. And then watching this, there was this felt to me like Netflix trying to astroturf their own release the Snyder cut sort of thing, where they will release this unsatisfying, incomplete movie, and then when I watch it and don't like it very much, they'll say, well, keep your Netflix subscription for a month or 2 or 3 more months. Then you'll get the complete version of it. And then you'll get the second half if you're not satisfied. Well, it's only one half of the movie. And then we'll get the second half of the movie. And when you're not satisfied by that, we can say, well, hold on to your Netflix subscription for 1 or 2 or 3 more months. And then you'll have the full version of the second half of the movie. And then you can watch both of them back to back. And it's like, then why are you wasting my time? Like, that's, I guess, the thing that I don't say this about very many movies. But because whenever I watch a movie, like I never ever say like that's 2 hours I'm never getting back, because surprise, surprise, those are 2 hours I will never get back, even if I like the movie. I'm acknowledging that I am spending my time this way when I go into a movie. That's kind of like a contract I make with myself. Um, but when I watched this, like I was just thinking about all the stuff I could do. Like I got dishes I could be doing. I got taxes I could be filling out. Like this just felt like a waste of time, and it was numbing and really, really dull.
How much of that? So let me probe you for a second. How much of that was because of the derivative nature of it, and how much of it was just like execution or like just writing, like the way that the characters are presented? Like, did it feel boring and like a waste of time because you've been here and done all this before, or is there even a deeper like just lack of credibility even before that?
I think it is like before that. I want to give Zack Snyder the benefit of the doubt, because I will watch the extended director's cut, even if it is playing right into Netflix's hands. I guess I'll just be Spawn and Coglioso. I'll just ignore Coglioso's.
You're playing right into his hands.
I'm playing right into their hands. But the thing is, it's like I feel like they've surgically removed the 20% of the movie that's the movie. And like, so it's like there are these kinds of things that are allusions to, like, I guess Turok, like mythological stuff. Like the bit where they meet Jaimin Hansu just feels like an extended reference to the movie Gladiator, because Jaimin Hansu was in Gladiator. But it that scene is like 2 minutes long, and then it's over, and then but like there's like all these things where it's like I understand what the reference is, but I don't understand aesthetically why like Zack Snyder feels he wants to blend them together. Like what's the thing that's the idea, the tone, the concept that's uniting all these disparate influences. So it's like you just kind of have this like blah kind of like floaty experience that's like way too long, and like none of the characters really come to life. But then all of the kind of aesthetics that the characters sort of feel like representatives for, those also feel like I don't understand why they're there. But I feel like even in Zack Snyder's, like all of Zack Snyder's other movies, I at least like understand what he's seeing in it to connect it to the story or like whatever he's trying to do with his movie. I didn't get that from this, and that was just making it really dull. Yeah, that's why. But I guess the best thing, if I have to pick a best thing, I will say Charlie Hunnam, who plays Legally Distinct Irish Han Solo, because he is like the one member of the cast who I feel like is given exactly 2 chances to have fun with what he's given. So there's a part later in the movie where he says, "I want to give up the pirate's life," and I thought, "Oh, you're a pirate." Well, it's good to know now, like an hour and a half into this movie. But like in scenes like that, he at least has some kind of charisma, and I feel like that actor sort of has like a Jai Courtney quality about him, where for a lot of his career he's been cast as like the stoic leading man, and I've never really understood the appeal of him. But in recent years, he is just sort of been playing like Jai Courtney playing Captain Boomerang in Suicide Squad. He's been taking on these kind of wacky, sort of supporting character actor roles, and I've really enjoyed him in those. And this is kind of like that, where he gets to sort of revel being just kind of a hoodlum. And I thought he brought a spark to his character that I don't think any of the actors were really allowed to bring to their characters. So I would say that's my best thing, worst thing.
It's weird that, yeah, it's weird that a lot of these actors are stiff in somewhat similar ways to the prequels.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we'll get there. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly.
But while like it's trying to let them all be a little bit more like stylized and over the top than the characters in the prequels, but in this really superficial, let's just draw from everything Zack Snyder likes kind of way, like I couldn't stop thinking about Sucker Punch. the whole movie, because it was like what he did with that in the anachronistic throwing two things together that don't go together with not any real story reason for it, where it's like, let's do a turn of the century story about, I think it's turn of the century, I haven't seen that movie since the theaters, it's been a million years, but about a woman in a mental institution, and then she has these dreams about basically scantily clad chicks in video games, and it's like, there aren't even video games yet. I don't understand that. This is like that, but with everything. So like, I keep referencing Star Wars because obviously it's just Star Wars, but then there's all these other things that creep in. So like, it's also Firefly, and it's also Dune, and it's also and I don't mean like just little superficial snippets. I mean like, every character that comes in represents, it feels like, some property that this would like to incorporate something from, but can't do it organically. It's got God of War. It's got,
I don't know, name.
Turok.
Yeah.
That spider lady looks just like the Borg Queen.
Yes.
We said that too.
We said it too.
Yep. Jayson, you want to go and do
Sure.
your sign flip?
It's like the good guy is Nemesis and the bad guy is First Contact. So
and the planet they're on is the browns and beige planet from Insurrection.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, they're on the Baku planet. How do we get Generations in here? Will we see the Nexus in the second movie? Like,
we see a photo album.
we see I'm trying to remember. We see Korra's stupid photo album.
Yeah. Korra's
anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I didn't like this movie. So I want to start off with a high note because he ended with a high note. And I just kind of want to keep
it's
it
like
coming.
poetry, it rhymes. Yeah.
So I liked right. So I liked some of the designs for the aliens and some of the designs for the costumes. Some of them were kind of lame, but some of them I thought were pretty cool. There's this isn't really giving too much away.
No, go ahead.
There's a bar scene that's just ripping off Cantina, but there's a cool alien that
well, we start on Tatooine and then we wind up on more Tatooine.
Right.
Like even more like Tatooine.
Yeah. So there's this like brain alien that has to like suck on humans to
like get into the cerebral cortex.
Yeah. And
to speak.
I hadn't actually seen much stuff like that. I thought that was a cool idea. And there are a couple other things, especially like in that scene, that I just think are cool, and designs that are a little derivative, but also are, you know, a little unique, and I kind of like. Worst thing.
Can you think of any other examples besides the brain thing?
There were a couple other aliens in that scene that looked pretty cool. I can't think of any right now. There's like a big.
They weren't major thing. They were like standing in the background or whatever.
And then I also like Nemesis' hat. I like her hat.
It's a cool hat.
It's a cool hat.
By the way, real quick, as far as Nemesis goes, I have a beef to take up with Connor because he said that the Irish guy was the only person that was allowed to like really come alive and have a character. But like, come on, Nemesis gets to do the like two swords like around her thing, you know, that you haven't seen in every other Zack Snyder movie. So like, you know, they get their moments.
So this,
Sure.
So I came into this movie being like, okay, I
want to say she's my favorite character. But all she has is a hat, a couple of swords, and revenge. Like that's it.
Yes.
You murdered all 16 of my children. You know, we feel a lot worse for a character when she has 16 children murdered.
I feel a lot worse about a character when I've only met her like 5 seconds before.
Oh, like the girl at the end?
Yeah.
Like female Robin at the end?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So there's So I came into this movie being like, okay, I want to watch a movie, right?
Well, that was a mistake.
Maybe it's bad.
That was
maybe
your
it's
first
not.
mistake.
You know, this movie's distracting. Like, there are so many things that are just, like, I don't even know what else to say. It's just a distracting movie. There are so many things. There are punches that are, like, look like they're 2 feet away that don't even look like they land at all. There's a scene that
he was really on about that.
They are so close to the backdrop that it doesn't even look like they are so close to the matte painting that it doesn't even look like a real backdrop. It's
in
just a matte painting.
multiple scenes.
Yeah. There are, like Connor was saying, whole subplots that just we start but then never finish. There's a character that just disappears halfway through the movie. There's there's characters that we're supposed to feel bad about that we just met 20 minutes ago and we know nothing about. And the biggest one is I hate how this story is structured because it feels like 2 movies. It feels
Which
like,
goes to Connor's point earlier.
Yeah. It feels like one half is, you know, the farmer, like the farming stuff, and then the second half is just Justice League. Like, actually, it's just Justice League because they go and they're like, we're gonna assemble the team, and then they do it. There's nothing. There's no.
When it's just Seven Samurai, it's not the influence of Seven Samurai creating something fresh like George Lucas did. It's just that again.
Yeah, and they every single battle they fight, they win. Like, we're not like, oh, is he like, is Nemesis gonna win against the Spider Lady? No, yes, she is. She's gonna win in like 2 minutes.
You didn't feel like there's enough resistance.
There's not enough resistance in this movie, and that's the biggest distraction for me. But yeah, I did not like this movie.
Yeah, great points.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the second one?
Yes. I think it'll be fun to watch because I think it'll be fun to make fun of.
So when you said it was super distracting, I thought where you're going with that was it's so riffable you can't help but talk while you're watching it.
Yeah.
Because I really had that. I just couldn't stop talking to it. We'll get to super chats here in a minute, guys. Thanks for all the support. We'll do that here in a minute. Connor, I very nearly did a watch party for this. I was gonna do a blind commentary or a reaction stream, and we ended up not doing that in favor of just reviewing it. But Jayson and I are talking about going ahead and doing that when the rated R cut drops, because there's like we had fun with it, from that angle. And I don't think very much actually works about this at all. But I think what's fun about it is how serious it takes itself, and it's kind of that Jurassic House thing again, where I feel like I'm looking at a glorified B movie that doesn't have any self-awareness at all and has no idea that it's a best of the worst film. Like, $166 million budget, I don't care. This is a best of the worst film. And when you put it up against those kinds of movies, it's pretty good. But that's not what it wants to be, Like, it wants to be... But then I kind of feel that way about Justice League to some degree. Although you put this in the Snyder Cut up against each other, and obviously the Snyder Cut is the superior movie by a lot.
They both have rousing choral anthems, though, is the thing.
Yeah, no, it's the same composer working on both of them, and there's a lot in common.
And there's so much Man of Steel in this score, even over Justice League. That was very distracting for me. And Connor, I felt like the score had the same problem that you were describing, tonally with the narrative. It was kind of all over the place.
I need into music more, but like I can see where you're coming from because there is a sort of like bombastic, like Batman theme from BVS type of quality to the action sequences, and then when and I get it that you need to have a range, but like yeah, no,
Yeah.
there isn't really a uniting kind of sound to it.
And it's just too self-serious in a lot of places where like it's so over the top and acting like you're watching the most important thing you've ever seen that looks like it was made in a guy's living room, and I can't stop laughing at it. I couldn't take this thing seriously at all ever. And any point where I went, well, even if it's a little bit derivative, here's an idea that's okay, or here's a couple of characters that we're finding interesting, like character parallels for, like Kai, like the Irish guy, and our Han Solo type character, where you have in Kai. A guy who has no moral center and just goes where the wind blows and has chosen his side based on, you know, who's strongest, who's on top. And then you have your roguish Han Solo type character who is on the verge of that, where he could go either way. And like I like all of that on paper, but every time it would introduce an idea that I thought could be could be explored in a cool way, where these characters could kind of come alive and the world could come alive, it just starts beating me over the head with like a moral lesson or something, and it doesn't leave any room whatsoever for interpretation or analysis. It just tells you exactly what it's about, like you're a kindergartner, and its characters don't talk about real things. And what I mean by that is in the internal logic of the fiction, they're talking about the grand ideas, and none of it's stuff we haven't seen before, and it's all very surface and superficial. So the big thing Jayson and I learned from this movie that we didn't get as like freaking toddlers was
that kindness is a virtue worth dying for.
That's the
Yes, that is the
put that on the poster.
Lesson.
That's the moral lesson of the film.
Kindness is a virtue worth dying for.
Yeah, kindness, not altruism, not bravery, not honor, just kindness.
You gotta be kind to people.
Yeah,
Something worth dying for.
Like Mr. Rogers could have made a better Star Wars. So anyway, I guess I'll do my sign flip real quick, and then we'll go through super chats. So obviously, I would be very disingenuous if I didn't flip red after how hard I've gone again with this movie already. But I'm in that there's kind of two Captain Logan's place with this movie. So on the one hand, I can't take this seriously at all, and it's embarrassing, and it's hard to sit through on a first viewing. But thanks to Connor Nielsen, who couldn't show up when we were originally supposed to record this, and because I had to wait almost a week before we could talk about it, Jayson and I made the executive decision to do the insane thing and sit down and watch it again. And on a second viewing, I was brainwashed into enjoying it more.
It's when you know what's happening, it's actually kind of not fun to watch, but at the same time, like, I don't know, I enjoyed it.
But kind of, yeah. So there's a part of me that never wants to have to think about this again, and I'm an all or nothing person as it is. There's a part of me that, and I don't mean to be wishy-washy about things. These are like, this is like a bipolar thing. So like, it's not that I haven't chosen a side. It's that my brain, I've got two. There's two different Captain Logans here. This is a Jekyll Hyde thing, okay? On the one, I'm two-faced with this. On the one hand, I never want to have to look at it again, Connor. And the other side of me wants to become and prove to everyone that I am the biggest Rebel Moon fan on the planet. I want to buy all the pop figures. I want to play the video game. I want to read the novelization. I want to get into this world, as stupid as it is.
Oh,
because it's really making me laugh. and because I feel like someone has to decide to become a fan of this property. Like, it won't be because it's good, it's because I have chosen. So it isn't that I need or want to, it's that I've chosen to be a fan of Rebel Moon.
You have chosen to be kind to Rebel Moon? Is that what you're telling me?
It's a virtue worth dying for. So I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about becoming the world's biggest Rebel Moon fan. And here's the thing: sorry, Connor, I gotta say this real quick. This will be the big proving ground for it. Okay, I haven't decided how I'm gonna go with this yet, but here in Kansas City, our big comic convention is in a couple months, month and a half. It's in March.
It's in March.
And the main actors from Rebel Moon are going to be there. And that will be my real chance to decide how big of a Rebel Moon fan I'm going to be. Because if I go there and get stuff signed by them, I'm all in. I'm a Rebel Moon junkie now. I still won't have the heart to flip it green, but it will be like, I will remove a poster down here and put a Rebel Moon one up.
Put it up over the couch behind you. That's awesome. So is it like the entire like core cast, or like how many?
It's like two or three of them. I think it's just Cora and
Gunner. Yeah, I wish the guy who played Kai was there,
or Turok,
because that guy is.
Every time that guy shows up on screen, I'm like, I get it. You work out. Stop it. I get it.
That's another distracting thing, and
it's just that he's got too many pecs. Like more than is humanly possible. He's got like a 19-pack or something.
The most distracting thing though that I forgot to mention is the stupid accents, and I'm not talking about the Irish guy because that guy is.
We're not talking about all the ethnic and national stereotypes.
Yeah, I'm talking about everyone has to put up this annoying accent that is so distracted, and I'm like, stop.
That they're not consistent with it all. They can't decide what it's supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
Jayson, when you called him like not Jason Aaron, so that's actually the guy who played MODOK in Quantumania. Believe it or not, that's
wait, is that who that is?
Darren Cross from.
Oh my. Okay, so I saw in the cast list Corey Stoll, and I went, "Where the hell is Corey Stoll in this movie? That's Corey Stoll."
It was that. Yeah, but like. Yeah, it was.
What?
Like, I had to pause. I'm like, okay, I need to look this up because it looked kind of like him, but it didn't sound anything like him.
Wait, Dan?
Like, in the eyes and.
Yeah, they said.
But I was.
They kept saying Den, but I was hearing Dan, and I was like, oh, here's Dan. He runs this.
Oh, and then
Sorry. Hold on.
I thought he sounded like he was going for his best like Skyrim NPC. Like that was his voice. Where he's like, hello there, let's go get some ale from the long hall. Like, he sounds just like a Skyrim guy. I mean, I thought he did a really good job. But I thought, like, that guy thinks he's in a Skyrim movie, I think. But no one else in the village talks like him. It's crazy.
Yeah, Connor, do you think any of these actors realize the schlock they're in? Or... I mean, like, I'm sure some of them do, but, like, are they trying really hard to elevate the material? Like, is there anybody in that living room that understands what they're in?
Get out of my living room! I mean, Charlie Hunnam's been in Guillermo del Toro movies. He has to know. Like, I think he has to know.
Not Hugh Jackman, probably.
Not Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, not Hugh Jackman probably is like...
The guy with the beard at the beginning?
Yeah, who's like, just like, going all out and like, just screaming at the top of his lungs. He's like, yeah! Like, he probably is just like, yeah.
I think Anthony Hopkins, even though he wasn't on set, and I think he did literally phone in his performance, and I don't mean that to like disparage the thing. Is like, I think he doesn't leave Wales anymore. I think it's just where he kind of stays. But I think...
Well, he's like 68 years old. I'm sorry, he's like 80. He's like, sorry. I don't know why that number came out. He's like, what, 87?
He's really old. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he didn't show
I
up
don't know
at the
why I said
Oscars
that.
when
He's
he
like
won.
80, he's like I flipped it. He's like 86, 87 years old. Not
Yeah.
68. What the hell am I saying?
Well, he didn't show up to win his last Academy Award, and I don't think it was because like he didn't think he was going to win or he didn't want to go. I think it's just because he just doesn't leave Europe. Like I think it's kind of where he stays.
Yep.
But like I think all of his lines, it was just the first time he was reading them. And Anthony Hopkins is like such a good actor. Like, I mean, he does a fine job. But if you like listen to the way he speaks, it's like he does hold on for words a little longer than you would normally hang on words. And I think it's probably because he's like sight reading his lines. But that's just a theory.
If they keep making these, because there's another one of those things where Zack Snyder is like, yeah, I want to make this like a big trilogy of movie, and I don't know if that means 3 or 6 or 9 or because if you do them in parts, it's like how many movies is that exactly?
Yeah.
Right.
But it's kind of weird to cast an 87-year-old man as your robot that would be difficult to voice replace. Like it's the most recognizable voice in your movie. I don't know why you do that. Seems like a mistake.
That
to
was
me.
an interesting choice. Yeah, no, there's a lot of actors who you could go to that have like that similar Anthony Hopkins style voice, but you know, you could not have to pay Anthony Hopkins dollars and then worry about an Anthony Hopkins time.
Yeah, because then when you have to replace him, you're going to be able to tell it's not him.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so like I said, I have to flip red, but I had more fun with it on a second viewing. But ironically, I have to say, and I don't mean to be disingenuous, but like, it's not good. It doesn't work. It's very, very generic in you know, darn near everything, and like best thing. God, it's so hard to do the best thing, worst thing with this.
Yeah.
Because I just my mind goes to like a bazillion different places. I guess worst thing I'll just say is like it's like, do I go to writing? Do I go to special effects? Like where do I go? I guess I'll say writing. I guess the biggest irksome irritation for me is just having to listen to characters instead of like talking about themselves and like really what they feel about things and getting in their heads and growing them as people. The platitude thing, the like CW or Star Trek Discovery platitude thing. It's in some ways it's not even as bad as Discovery with that, but you know, I don't like it. And then that's probably not actually the worst thing, but I don't know. From a writer's perspective, that annoys me. I guess I'll throw that in. And you guys had good worst things, so there's another one. And then best thing is I don't know. I had a thing that I wanted to make sure and throw out, and now it's not coming to me. I'm so distracted by all these different things I want to bring up. Like, why does the robot have antlers at the end? I'm really confused about that. Like, maybe the real worst thing is all the material it's missing. After a bit, I'll try to remember to bring up why I think Connor is maybe not right about the Netflix angle with this, because I really think it's more Snyder than it is Netflix. But like I think he's given Snyder too much credit with this. I think that was I'll just say this real quick. I think that was the compromise that Netflix made with Snyder for some reason, because people keep giving him money to make things for some reason, and because like I said,
He's really nice.
That's what it seems like. You know, what I read was that Netflix wanted him to just make a movie, and he was making too grand of a thing, so they made him break it up. So like, I don't think they really wanted to put it out like that, Connor. I don't think it was like a malicious way for them to get us to keep a subscription. I think it was the only compromise they could come to where they were comfortable putting the thing out, because they didn't want to put out a 4 or 5 hour movie like the Snyder Cut.
Okay. That's certainly possible.
Yeah. So, but I don't know that for sure. But that's just what it sounds like with what little we know about behind the scenes with Des. What were you gonna say?
Did you say your best thing?
It's Turok.
It's yeah.
Yeah, Turok's great. I just want the whole movie to be about that guy.
Yeah, that guy's great.
Yeah, and the Who guy's fun.
No,
the Who guy's always good.
But no. Your bet. I know what your actual
what it actually should have been.
No, it's that scene where General Titus is in the thing, and then he stands up and he's like. It's the best thing ever.
Oh, you mean the Darth Vader scene from Empire? Because it's just the Darth Vader scene from Empire?
No.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You're talking.
No, I'm talking about.
I thought you were talking about Noble. You're talking about Titus.
Titus, where he's.
See, Connor, he's named Noble because he's not.
Right.
Did you get that whole thing? Did you get that?
You know what? The subversion went right over my head. I must have missed it.
But yeah, they're.
Oh, I have a crazy theory about the robot, though. Sorry, go ahead.
They're asking Titus if he will like come with him, and he just stands up really slowly and looks at them, and then the scene ends. And it's,
yeah, I know, it's really funny.
And the music is like, dun, dun, dun!
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like that scene was obviously supposed to be like twice as long, but they're like, well, you gotta make cuts here, so the part where he just kind of stands up, let's play it really dramatic and then end the scene there.
Yeah.
Okay, I promise I'll read the super chats right after this. Connor, tell me if I'm way off on left field here. I had a thought about the robot.
Why he just disappears halfway through?
No, I don't have a theory about that. Well, except that, they just cut a bunch out of this so it wouldn't be 4 hours long.
For some reason, just shoots a gun while just holding it, not even pressing a trigger or anything. It just shoots.
Wait, does it just shoot?
Yeah, he's holding it like this, and then he looks, and it's like, psh. I don't know.
His name is Jimmy.
Yes.
And everybody got really angry with Snyder in BVS for killing Jimmy Olsen in the opening scene. And I'm just wondering if he might be going, well, fine, I'll give you guys a character that you're just gonna love named Jimmy. He's gonna be the lovable robot voiced by 87-year-old Anthony Hopkins. There's your Jimmy Olsen,
in the face. He shoots people in the face.
Right. See, it's a subversion. We flipped it. Brilliant.
He's making it up. You know what?
By the way, full spoilers
theory.
now. Full spoilers.
I like that theory. I do like that theory.
Do you think it's a coincidence, or do you think there's a chance?
I want to say it's a coincidence, but Snyder does enjoy like having those little ties to his previous movies. Like in interviews, I hear him kind of mention how there are these like little tiny details that are kind of tips of the hat. So I don't know if it's like a response to the negative response of Jimmy Olsen from BVS, but it might be just a connection to Jimmy Olsen.
It's a weird name for a robot.
It is. It's also like just as like, what is it with Jimmys?
And
because
also, how are you so generic to just call droids robots? The moment they just went, oh, we got a robot, I was like, wow, we're not even trying now.
I'm okay with that. But like in X-Men Origins Wolverine, Sabretooth calls Wolverine, he calls him Jimmy. And there's that part where he has to dramatically yell, Jimmy! Jimmy! And it's like, it's not exactly a name that like sounds dramatic when
it's
you
not
say
dramatic.
it. I don't know. It's not dramatic. And so when they start calling the road like Jimmy, you're like, oh, Jimmy, huh?
Well, and it's
okay.
And it's not like Star Wars where it feels like there's any there's any kind of naming convention or anything where it all feels like it fits in the same universe. This seems like, or at least in the original trilogy. Later on, we start to get a little bit fast and loose and silly with some of the naming. But in this, it just feels like like somebody named Bob Barker could just walk out of a spaceship. Like we're really random with our naming. But I also think that the Jimmy thing, related to that or not, the more I'm thinking about it, it might be trying to be like cute in being about like mechanical stuff, where like you jimmy something open.
Oh.
Oh,
Maybe.
You know,
you Jimmy rig something together. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
yeah, maybe that's what it is. But
Like,
anyway,
that actually probably could be what it is.
what do you say?
Yeah. Nothing.
You just say, you gotta smirk like I'm gonna say something hilarious.
No.
Oh, okay. I was just very excited about the hilarious thing you didn't say. Okay,
So yeah, let's get to super chats, and
yes.
then I want to talk about the robot a little more afterwards.
absolutely.
'Cause none of that makes any sense to me.
Oh, also, sorry, Connor, another thing you brought up earlier that I want to make sure and hit before I forget about it is you said that we're taking out like what all the story actually is. I think that's probably giving him too much credit. Like when we get the longer cut, like I think there's probably subplots that are missing, but I don't know how much like more like real substantive lore there is. I think what you're likely to see is, okay, the robot was actually in more of this movie, but more of it is just, here's all the really violent stuff Netflix didn't want him to put out because they didn't want it to be rated R. Because we know that for a fact. We know the reason he had to trim it down was A, they didn't want it to be 5 hours long, and B, they wanted families to be able to watch it.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I know the violence will definitely be there, but I guess what I mean is like maybe not even necessarily the story, but like at least tonally, I can understand what the idea was. Like I can understand what idea he's trying to convey. Like there should be some kind of emotional catharsis, even if like logistically it doesn't really fit together. Like I don't know. When I think about like Sucker Punch, for example, you're right. Like logistically, it doesn't make any sense why someone at the turn of the century would be like having fantasies that are like 2010s video games, right? Like, but I can understand from his perspective as like the god of this world, he maybe thinks a lot of this is like kind of connected through like the way females are like depicted in like tropes about female characters, and the way they're framed, and trying to subvert that, and also trying to like comment on that through the way that they're infantilized by being literally lobotomized in a sanitarium. And it's like, okay, broadly speaking, ideas wise, I can see what you're trying to do. You're trying to like kind of subvert all of these aesthetics that are like, you know, historically oppressive against women, it could be argued, and like trying to empower them with those very aesthetics. Like I understand that concept. I don't think the movie really works, and I don't think it's good, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I understand that's the concept. With this, I don't understand why are we doing Turok. Like I get that it might be mythological, or it might be, I don't know who Turok is, but like with Star Wars, why are we doing this with Star Wars? Why are we doing this with Seven Samurai? I know that George Lucas was looking at Akira Kurosawa. I know that Zack Snyder likes those same influences. I know that he likes all, but like, what's the linchpin? What's the catharsis here? Like, I don't
and both
see
of those feel like massive vanity projects. But in this particular case, I wonder if he just didn't really have a take, but really wanted to make Star Wars. Like, do you really think there's anything here beyond, once again, like with Star Wars, fascism is bad? Keep in mind that you've got your stand-in for the Nazis, just like with the Imperials and Stormtroopers, except in this case, they're just wearing SS uniforms. They're not even a stand-in. They're just Nazis. They're straight up Nazis in like ships that look like mobile homes in the inside. But
yeah, they show up in a floating U-boat. That was crazy.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like, do you really think there's any more to it than that? Like, when your big moral is kindness is a virtue worth dying for, it just doesn't feel like you got a pitch.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know what it is really based on watching it, and I feel like maybe somewhere in the violence is like the catharsis, but I don't know for sure, and maybe I am giving it too much credit. But
yeah, like it just feels like all the tropes, you know, all the big sci-fi tropes we've always had. It's the rule of the strongest, and power corrupts, and just all all the same stuff, except through like generic, not colorful enough characters that don't really seem to come from enough of a place. Like our stand-in for Darth Vader in this is just cruel for the sake of being cruel, and we're playing with like a little bit of a sense of mystique with him. Again, spoilers now. Where we're doing the not the straight up more machine than man thing, but he's got ports like he's in the Matrix world, and you can plug into him and do stuff to him. So like he clearly has a background that we haven't gotten yet, but I don't know if that'll humanize him in any way at all.
I don't think it will. Yeah, no, good call on the Matrix thing. He struck me as
we plug in at the end. I kept thinking
Dude.
Matrix all throughout, and then finally we actually go into his head so that he can talk to Palpatine.
Yeah, and we do the most. I mean, I was waiting for the Snyder dream sequence thing to happen, and it finally happened.
Yeah, you get to the end, and it's just a tacked on Joker thing from the from the Snyder cut.
Yeah. I was like, this is not a Snyder movie unless that happens.
And he said that well before it happened. He was like, "Where's the dream sequence? There it is."
Yeah.
Good call, Jason.
They have that shot of the close up of him in the white void, and I'm like, man.
There we go.
See, I think maybe my real best thing, and this is going to sound really facetious and unfair, but I guess my real best thing is it's just a sense of a feeling more of completion, where like I needed the obligatory Snyder take on Star Wars. Like I got it with superhero, I got it with horror. Like I think I needed it for science fantasy.
Yeah.
I think my world feels more complete now that he has done his nonsense to this material. You know, what's the next thing? Like Snyder needs to make a rom-com next, or like a murder mystery.
A murder mystery. A Snyder murder mystery would be so funny.
Maybe
to watch.
both at the same time.
We need a Snyder murder mystery.
We also need a Snyder musical. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Is the Zack Snyder musical.
Yes.
But Snyder is really good and also really bad at having like way too many characters in a story and just doing nothing with them, and so having him do a murder mystery would be the funniest thing ever. Just have him make like 15 characters.
He remakes Clue.
Yeah.
I know like Spielberg already remade it, but come on. Zack Snyder's West Side Story, sign me up for that. Like the craziness that is the love story of West Side Story. Could just imagine that. Like that would be insane.
If he was approached for Cats, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yes! Yes! I have to see Zack Snyder's Rum Tum Tugger. Give it to me. Yes! Yes, please.
Okay, apologies to these guys that left Super Chats a million years ago. Dan Schneider, $5 Super Chat. Thanks, man. He says, Eric once said that Zack Snyder is a Michael Bay-style director that wants to be Christopher Nolan or Ridley Scott. He's too ambitious. And that whole thing is just getting worse to me as he's having to work on a smaller scale, where the seams are showing even more when he doesn't have the production value to back it up, and when he's using methods that have been outdated for 20 years. I just don't think you can shoot this kind of stuff all on a green screen, Connor.
Yeah, Zack Snyder is interesting to me because I understand that like Michael Bay style of, because it's like Michael Bay and Zack Snyder, I think they both come from a history of music videos.
Yeah.
And so that's like I can see like that kind of origin point is very similar for how they work professionally. But like, I don't know, like I think the reason why as Zack Snyder's been working on a smaller and smaller scale, like why I think I have a little bit more appreciation for it than other people is I think Zack Snyder does love B movies, and I think he kind of knows he's making glorified B movies, but like not like the B movies that are best of the worst, but like the kind of like epic fantasy stuff that, sorry, not epic fantasy, but the fantasy stuff that wanted to be epic fantasy that couldn't afford to be it. He's trying to do like I don't know if he's trying to do that, but that's kind of what it feels like.
No, it definitely does. But I feel like it's too self-indulgent, and he's too like in his own head and listening to his his fans too much. Where like I agree with Dan Schneider. Like it really, or the guy calling himself Dan Schneider. Where, somebody's gonna cut that up, and post it somewhere. I
agree with Dan Schneider.
Yeah, I agree with the guy that left that super chat in that he, assuming that he agrees with that thing that Eric said a long time ago, that he wants to be in maybe even kind of sees himself as a different kind of director than what he really is, because I can appreciate and enjoy that kind of stuff. I just wish I had a better sense that he knew that's what he was making. It's too self-serious, and that was the reason that I couldn't get on board with BVS and Justice League. Besides the fact that also the stories didn't make any sense, but particularly with BVS. I mean, Justice League is more straightforward, and I'm buying more of what's happening in that. And that is a better movie, but his version bites too long, but it's a better movie. It should have been released like this, by the way. We should have gotten halfway through and end part one. You know, we should have had that, but I don't know. This actually does have some of those BVS type plot holes, or just like confusing moments where I don't really get what's happening. Let's get through these super chats, and then I kind of want to dissect a couple of those things because I have questions, Connor.
Me too.
I've seen this twice now, so I thought more about it, and I have questions. Bob Hahn, $5 super chat. John Ostrander needs to write a comic series for this world. He will make everything that doesn't work good, give it the EU facelift, then copy those stories. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can do some stuff in this world that would make it feel less generic. And some of these characters have some potential, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. They just don't really get much to do, and I hope they get stuff to do in
the second part
2.
Yeah, well, do you agree with people in the comments earlier that were saying this? Sorry, somebody suggested that this just feels like the whole thing is just a preamble for the second part.
And I didn't think so for most of it, but there were definitely some things, especially in character plots and just characters in general, that I'm like, I need more from this in order to have an opinion on this character at all. Like, we haven't gotten anything from any of these characters, and there are just too many.
I think it drags and holds your hand too much through the beginning on the titular Rebel Moon, because it's so been there, done that as soon as and by the way, this is a pretty predictable story. As soon as as Noble shows up and it starts asking about Green, I'm like, well, I know where this is going. Like, I've seen this in every like sci-fi space opera thing ever, and it's also been about Grain a lot. Where you like the bad guy shows up and Grain crops whatever it is, bullying somebody, or bullying a nation state or a town, and saying you need to give we're going to protect you. We'll be your protectors from what it doesn't matter. We protect you now, and in exchange you're going to give us this grain, and we need more than you can even hardly produce to sustain yourselves. But if you don't, we're going to destroy you. And like, well, we've seen that a bazillion times before. Did the setup have to take as long as it did to get there? And it's trying to, I think, kind of superficially build tension to a kind of an absurd degree, where I'm like, get a move on with it. And the movie, again, this is where I think, Connor, that it's not very self-aware, about how hokey it is, where it's like, oh man, aren't you really scared to find out like which of the two is gonna die? I'm like, no, I knew Jason Aaron was gonna die the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, that was pretty, I knew when he picked up his like bone club thing that he was going to turn around and he was going to smash Jason Aaron and keep wailing on. Like we all knew that was going to happen.
Because he said, this is what happens when people with power do stuff to people without power. And I'm like, it's suggesting that this crop guy is the one without power. But in reality, the leader of the village is without power compared to Noble, who has all of the power.
There's just a lot of
Didn't see that one coming.
There's just a lot of rookie mistakes like that make it feel like it's written by a sophomore writing student, or even sometimes like a sophomore in high school, where it's really it's derivative to kind of an embarrassing point, and then it either hopes or thinks you've never seen any of the movies that would make you a fan of this stuff to go look at it in the first place.
Yeah,
like, I've seen this stuff before. Like,
that's where the catch-22 is, because then it's like it also expects you to kind of be in the know on what it's pulling from, so that you can get the thrill out of connecting with that.
Yeah, but it's pretending like its audience has never seen this kind of thing before, so it has to have its handheld the whole time. Do you see what I'm getting at?
No, I do. Yeah, no, it is a weird conundrum.
I had that massively with Kai, because it is going out of its way to seed his double cross like 15 times, and it's obnoxious. Like, at the point where he finally does the double cross, I'm like, yep.
It would make you think I was the bad guy.
Yeah, there's so many places where he almost like winks to the audience and is like, I'm going to double cross all these people. You know, and I've been planning it all along, and he's like, and it makes our heroes look stupid, because especially that moment where he's like, I'm gonna leave that my smuggling life behind, and I'm like, well, now you're just laying it on to an absurd degree where everybody around should be like, wait a minute, he's working with the bad guys, isn't he? Like, you're protesting too much at that point. He's got this giant smile on his face. He's like, you've convinced me. I'm gonna turn this life around. And then when he does the double cross, Jayson looks at me and goes, wait a minute, that's Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, it is. Only Irish.
Yeah, I don't understand.
He's Irish Lando.
He's Irish instead of black.
Well, and I don't understand the look, why they didn't see it coming, because the first scene that, like, before you've met Kai, they walk up, and I thought this was actually one of the funniest parts of the movie, maybe the most humorous part, was where they go to Mos Eisley where it's raining, and they like go to the bar, and then like a guy gets like taken in by like the authorities, and then the gunner is like, that was the guy we were here to see. Like, they just took him away. Oh no. That was pretty good. Like, I thought that was actually like in the movie's favor. That's a fun irony where it's like an ironic kind of twist you have to throw.
I didn't catch that. That's a good call.
To throw your characters in. Now they have to improvise. Like, okay, what do we do? So they go into the cantina. And then it's like there's a whole race of like orc men who I guess are just bounty hunters, and like you can know that they're traitorous because that's like kind of what they mentioned, because you see the orc guys carrying the guy who they were there to meet away in like a weird spider like contraption, and then it's like you see Kai getting a bag of money from the orc guy, and I'm like, oh, I see what happened. Kai sold this guy out for money. Oh, okay. And then they're like, well, yeah, let's team up with this Kai guy.
But then
and I'm
they
like,
play
wait a minute, didn't you guys
time.
see this guy hand him money? Like, you might sell you guys out because you're looking for the same people.
And
that's such a good point. Yeah.
And I had a question about Kai.
We can go ahead and get into that part if you want to.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my big like plot hole questions had to do with him, or in like character motivation stuff. Because I think Kai keeps making choices just because the plot needs to go where it needs to, or because it wants to throw you off about his being, even though it also keeps giving you tells about his double cross.
So he keeps giving them, like, he keeps being like, oh, I know this person that can help you with, your rebellion, and he's the main guy who knows all these people, who is taking them to planets. Why is he doing that? And so that he can just like he's basically giving them people that are really good at fighting and stuff.
And it's not like he changes his mind at some point in the movie. He
No.
planned to. He was working with Noble all along.
Yeah.
Or planning to turn them over to Noble anyway the whole time, so that he can get the bounty on their heads. But he also takes them to Turok, and I think he maybe even takes them to the leader of the rebellion. Am I wrong about that?
No, that one is
Or does he take them to Nemesis?
he takes them to Nemesis.
Why does he volunteer all that information, Connor? And like he's helping them build their team
So that they can
have
go against
more
him.
people to make it difficult for him and the bad guys later and the Imperium.
Yeah, that's a good question. Why doesn't he just like go to these planets to begin with, find the person, and then say, "All right, I got him," or something? Yeah, it seems weird to put them all together.
I don't even get why he needed to work with them for as long as he did. Like, because I'm a little bit fuzzy on how exactly getting them corralled and picked up worked, because you had the couple of guys in the like fighter jets
Yeah.
that were like in on it the whole time. Like, did they have to get to that planet before they could make it work? Why couldn't they have done it on an earlier planet?
I don't know. Well, they were planning to go to that planet the whole time. They just had to build their team to go to their planet. I guess they had enough time before they.
But
because
what I'm
they
saying
were
is,
both
why
going
couldn't
to that
Kai
planet.
have turned them in earlier on any other planet?
I don't know.
I don't know, because I guess it is just like I want to get the Blood Axes because their bounty is the biggest bounty, and
Okay,
on the
maybe that's
way
what it
I
is.
can stop and like pick them up along the way so that I can pick up a few, and then once I get to them, then I can get the biggest
No,
one.
that's a good point. I wasn't appreciating that. Maybe, in fact, that might be even why he takes them to. Well, yeah, because he takes them to General too.
Yeah.
And then, okay, no, this is maybe okay, because we had to talk this out. But because when Noble like goes down the line and explains each of these characters that we already know everything about that he's telling us, he's really excited about like being able to bring them all into Bessarius.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what Kai was doing, just getting like a bigger and bigger bounty. Okay, that works.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I guess that works.
Now,
I mean-
then his choice to try to force, help me out, Han Solo guy.
Gunner.
To try to force Gunner, these names, man,
Gunner.
some of them, to do what he does to Korra is preposterous. Because it's just... So can we break this down for a second?
Yeah.
Because I'm very confused about this whole thing.
I'm so confused.
I think we actually solved that first thing, though, and the movie gets points.
Yeah.
I think the movie wins on that. I think it beat us on
It
that.
does.
I don't think it will beat us on this thing.
No.
So, Kai goes, I'm gonna make you, Gunner, pull the trigger with the thing on the back of Korra's head. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And he's like, no, you have to. And I don't really fully understand why he does that. Why that's important to him. Why doesn't he just because he says, we're gonna paralyze them all for transport. Why doesn't he just paralyze all of them? I don't get that. And it's just there so that the scene has some way for our heroes to get out of it.
Yeah, and so there are so many things wrong with that, because one, Belisarius wants her alive. Two,
which we find out at the end, but you'd think that would be a question that Noble would have asked him.
Noble is
Because I can't tell if Noble
that's the
wants
second-
her dead or not. Like, they're gonna paralyze them, the whole group, and then take them alive. So, like, that's their version of Carbonite. There's not a special effect or anything. Paralyze them. Okay. And then he's but the one exception to that, I think, according to just the movie, is her, because we had this set up earlier in the movie where there's a guy that Noble interrogates, who's on one of those mechanical contraptions.
Is that guy that they were trying to find, and then it's like, oh, they got him.
Yeah,
like
and he gives them all the information they want, and then he's like, I'm gonna kill him anyway, and then he says, dissect his brain, see if there's more information in there.
Yeah. Why could
I guess
why couldn't
they could
you
do that.
just done that in the first place? But whatever.
Okay, but then
well, because they're evil, they got to do the mean thing.
Connor, is it not the exact... Here's what we're getting at. Is it not the exact same technology? Aren't we supposed to think that the whole point with that is Kai wants to make Gunnar sort of join the dark side, sort of pick sides by killing this woman that he's in love with? Isn't that what the scene is supposed to be?
I wasn't sure what the deal was. Because if that is the case, I didn't see darkness in Gunnar. I don't know what Kai saw in Gunnar that might lead him to believe that there was darkness. It did just kind of feel like you had said, for whatever reason, I guess Kai was off on his count. He had only X amount of spider crawly things when he needed Y amount, or when he needed X plus 1, because then he's like, well, Gunnar's the one. I guess you need to be the one to paralyze all of them. I need to be needlessly cruel.
Here's the thing.
I need an action scene to happen.
So this is all awkward and hard to talk about, and apologies if this conversation is difficult to follow. But with the character motivation thing, that's not even the biggest issue to me, Connor. I can kind of see it. I don't think it's supposed to be the Luke Skywalker thing where he could go either way. Like maybe he'll join the dark side for like rage reasons or anything. I think it's more that. Sorry, I'm trying to remember character names. That Kai is trying to appeal to his sense of self-preservation, of just going where the wind blows like he does. Like that's his philosophy. He's all about pragmatism, and that's what Gunnar was kind of showing us at the beginning, where he was like, I gave the Resistance our excess grain not because I cared about helping the Resistance, but because they offered us the best price, and I'm kind of maybe okay with the Imperium too, except I'm afraid they'll find out that we did that. It's all pragmatism. So I think maybe the idea, if it's supposed to be kill her, because that's where I'm confused, is if you kill Cora, then you've chosen a side. So it's not that you're like appealing to your own darkness, but just that you're being pragmatic. And remember, right before that, Kai says, if you play your cards right, you can get out of this alive.
Okay.
So I think that's what it's supposed to be. But if you read the synopsis of the movie on Wikipedia, it interprets it differently than what I thought was happening in the movie, and I don't believe it. This is what I'm really confused about.
I think you have the authority since you are the biggest Rebel Moon fan in the world, so I think you can go.
I haven't gotten my signatures yet, so we can't say that.
Okay.
And I don't care how long that line is.
You gotta talk to the man who plays Gunnar and ask him about what Wikipedia says this, but I say this.
But I think
what
it's
do
this.
You say?
Okay, so what Wikipedia says, and this makes even less sense to me.
Yeah.
But what Wikipedia says is Kai forces Gunnar, or tries to force Gunnar to use the paralysis machine on her. That's what that apparatus does. Is that was supposed to paralyze her, and then that would, I guess, prove that he was changing his loyalty to them, as opposed to killing her. But first of all, what we saw that thing do earlier in the movie was kill a guy. That's the first thing. And secondly, everything about the scene, in the way it's trying to build tension and suspense, is he's going to have to kill the woman that he loves. And remember, like, she's got tears streaming down her face. Like, I might die in this moment. That's everything about that scene to me said he's gonna kill her, and then it provided him with a weapon that he could then use so that they could all get out of it. So what do you think, Connor? If it is that, the movie does not remotely give me enough information.
No, yeah, I think you're way more on the money when you talk about the earlier scenes and the pragmatism and his willingness to just sell whatever to survive. And I mean, that's a parallel between Gunnar and Kai that I didn't even think about. I think the movie gets far too much removed from that philosophical
sure
maybe connection or conflict there. And I don't remember the movie ever putting them in a situation together where they have a conversation about it, where that scene could like resolve that tension that's maybe between them. So yeah, no, I think you're way more on the money in terms of making a case for it. I feel like if there is like a darkness of him choosing a side, I did not pick up on it at all.
But what would have been... What would have happened if she had died? Like, how would Belisarius react? What would happen to...
Why is Noble standing there and just letting this happen?
Yeah, because at the end, Noble is like, we finally found what's-her-face, Cora.
Yeah.
She has an actual name.
And don't worry, we're on our trail, we're real close to getting her. I'm like, you're leaving out the part where you had her, and you let your bounty hunter guy try to kill her, well, I think.
No need to report that until there is something to report.
Something to report. She noticed that those guys were just standing in the background, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
I love this movie. It's my new favorite thing. So yeah, that whole thing is really confusing. I don't understand any of that. And then again, when you get to the end and Belisarius is like, well, you misunderstand. I want her alive. Why do you think this is good news? I'm like, why didn't he give his regent really specific instructions about what to do about this in the first place?
I don't know. I can't.
Like, I guess if you find her, because he clearly wants to find her.
Yeah.
Something's going on Connor's end. I don't know what the deal is, but he is on his way back.
Sorry, I had to change the lights went out on this.
Oh, okay.
He will find her. Yeah.
Anyway,
no, but you're really lucky that they didn't kill her. You're really lucky that it turned into an action scene where she got away. Because otherwise,
that's all I could think about. And now, if I'm interpreting it wrong, again, it's on the movie because it doesn't make that clear. And like all evidence to me points to he was trying to kill her. But if you look at it the other way, if it really is that, that's also just a really awkward. Like, it makes it even more contrived, I think, that we just gave them a device by which they could get out of the situation. Because it's like, okay, you need to, the only way you're going to be able to get out of this alive is if you paralyze this woman. And then, like we got to paralyze all these other people, but we need you to pull the trigger on this paralysis thing.
It's so weird, because, like, the device is already rendering them inert anyways. Like,
they can't do anything. I really... I don't know, anybody that has seen this movie, sound off in the comments, but I think I have to be right about this.
Yeah.
Jar Jar Ed, $5 super chat. Plots that start but are never finished. A melting pot of things the director likes. This is a J.J. Abrams and Michael Bay hybrid. I mean, I think it's just a Zack Snyder film made with less money and less ideas than he usually has, honestly.
I think this is just a Zack Snyder film.
It felt to me... Yeah, but... It felt to me like, especially visually, almost like a fan film somebody made trying to look like a Snyder movie.
Yeah.
It's really fan filmy.
I can see what you mean. Like, especially those early scenes, like the first scene in particular, where they were like in the field. That it looks like a really good fan film, but it does look pretty low end.
Do you remember the part? Okay,
when she takes the dirt and she's like, and then Gunnar looks at her and he's just like, "What are you doing?"
But do you remember?
No, that's what's funny, because like that's what he should be doing, but they kind of play it like the binary sunset, where he's longingly looking not at the horizon,
yeah,
but at her.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a weird introduction to that character because we don't know anything about her. We don't know anything about him. Why is
They're
he
just
looking longingly?
looking
at her?
longingly, yeah. But you know, one thing I'll give this movie over the Star Wars sequels, Connor, is at least its characters aren't sexless. I appreciate that. Like, at least it's a female, like, kick-ass action star is allowed to, like, fall in love with someone. That's good.
Yeah, sure.
It's not accomplished well or anything, but
Oh yeah, no,
I didn't have any feelings about it, but at least they did that. I don't know. But like you're right about those early scenes, but hey, let's go all the way to the end where we have our epic drag down knockout fight between Darth Vader and somehow Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Anakin Skywalker all at the same time. Or well, I should say he's Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
Just that he's somehow I guess Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker.
Well, he's also
what I mean
Grand Moff
is,
Tarkin because he's got the big cheekbones.
No, that's true. But he's in the role of what I said was stupid, but hear me out. He's in the role of Darth Vader, but then he's retroactively going to have the Anakin Skywalker thing happen to him even after he's the bad guy.
Yeah, when they brought him, like I'm like, oh well, at least they killed the bad guy and they bring him back.
I knew he was coming back. I thought they'd do it in an after credit scene, but I knew he was coming back. I knew there was no way that was the end of that guy.
And it's really funny because your three main characters. So your main character is Rey Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo. Your other main characters are Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, and then your other character is Han Solo and Lando and Boba Fett. And like,
no, wait. How is Korra also Han Solo?
Everyone's Han Solo. Like, she is.
I don't see how
like
she's
this
Han
thesis,
Solo.
Jayson.
I mean, like, she's...
Maybe...
Because she's not, like, a smuggler. She's not double-crossing people. I don't see...
Well, she's... I don't know.
She's not a rogue in that way.
Kind of.
Well,
I mean,
we know that Han Solo was a pilot for the Empire from the movie Solo, a Star Wars story, and he
true.
rebelled against it. And so Korra was a member of the Imperium, and she rebelled against that.
No, she's more Finn than anybody.
Finn. I forgot about Finn. Yeah, she is Finn.
She's Finn before she's Han Solo, but she's like she's like the daughter of Palpatine if you had the Luke I'm your father reveal in the first movie and like half an hour in.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I like the box quote of Jayson. Everyone is Han Solo. That makes me laugh. So.
But the reason I brought that scene up is you have this drag down knockout fight, and we get a big punch and from Korra to Noble, and then we cut, and then we throw teeth. We just
Yes.
we just throw teeth.
Yes.
It's a fan film. And I'm sure the rated R cut is gonna actually see the teeth fly, and you better believe that will also still like out of the mouth. That will also still look like a fan film.
The thing is, it's a Snyder movie though, because you're forgetting about because when I saw that
we haven't even talked about the slow motion
because we haven't.
Oh God.
When
because the action isn't even good, and every time I don't think, and a lot of it, and every time we're doing slow motion, I'm just going, you're just making it look worse by slowing it down.
Yeah, exactly. You know it. Do you know what you know exactly what I was thinking about when I saw the teeth fall.
No.
The necklace in BVS.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a Snyder film.
You know what I sent this to you, Cap. I don't know if you watched it, but some YouTuber made a video that's called like Zack Snyder's Star Wars Part 1: A New Hope.
I haven't seen that yet. No.
Where they've just like Zack Snyder like Rebel Moonified like A New Hope. It is so funny. Where like where like the part where R2D2 and C3PO are like in the escape pod, going away from the Star Destroyer. They like loop the footage and have like an AI Anthony Daniel voice, and it's like, oh, thank goodness we have escaped the clutches once again of the evil empire, a fascistic force that is reign of terror. It's just this word vomit monologue explaining what the empire is, and there are many of them.
Because this has the show don't tell problem, like, ad nauseum to 11.
But the best part of that video is somebody had, like, the part where Darth Vader goes, I felt something I haven't felt since. And then it fades to stock footage of episode 3 where Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting in slow motion, and they have an AI voice of James Earl Jones going, once like brothers, we fought each other's on the fiery beaches of Mustafar. More than a cross of blades, it was a battle of ideologies about the future of the Jedi.
Oh my god! They just
so
sell
funny.
everything out.
Yeah,
wow,
it's great.
That's fantastic.
He comes back and he goes, it happened again years later. The Obi-Wan Kenobi, where he like the Disney Plus show. Oh, it's so good. People should seek that video out. It's great.
It's like you're making your fictional film via video essay.
Yes. Yeah. And not like Apollo 10.5, which was kind of like a movie essay, but kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a Netflix movie.
I guess you could do
that.
that. I've never seen that done, but this doesn't.
It's like it's weird because it's like an informative essay on what life in the late '60s was like if you lived in Texas, and it's like Jack Black is just doing this voiceover narration explaining what life was like, and I'm like, oh, it's like I've never seen something like this before. It's like an essay in movie form.
All you gotta do is say Jack Black, like, and I would have watched it. Like, I don't need an explanation as to what the hell it is.
It's pretty good.
I watch Jack Black things.
Yeah, you don't see him; you just listen to him.
No, that's fine.
But,
I love Jack Black. You ever seen the Polka King?
No.
Watch the Polka King. It's not quite
I'll
as good as the somewhat similar. These are both biopic-y, or not, but like based on a true story movies. But it's not quite as good as the other movie he made about a kind of likable, endearing criminal. I can't remember the name of that. Did you ever see the movie?
Oh, are you talking about Bernie?
Yeah, Bernie. You ever seen that?
So Bernie was made by the same filmmaker who made Apollo 10.5.
There you go.
And it's actually Richard Linklater who made the Before movies. So that's kind of
yeah.
Neat.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. But so did you ever see Bernie?
I love Bernie, yeah.
But yeah, Bernie is a wonderful movie. Well, Polka King is like a spiritual successor to Bernie, where he is once again playing a kind of criminal with a heart of gold who you root for, but like you feel weird rooting for. But instead of killing somebody, he has this whole like this whole scheme. For making a ridiculous amount of money, money laundering through becoming like the Polka King of whatever state it is. Like it's a whole money laundering scheme. It's hilarious.
Interesting. Okay, I'll have to look that up. But
it's shockingly watchable.
That movie Bernie. What I liked about that is it's not a documentary, but it does feel like an article in movie form, because it has like all those like talking head like interviews, and it's based on an article, and so like that's kind of cool.
And those people are all based on real people, but they're played by actors. And yeah.
Well, actually, the guy who wrote
no, I think some of them were real people from that whole thing, right?
I think so. At least they're from that localized area.
Yeah,
but
it's been a while.
But the fellow, so that's. Sorry, this is off the beaten path.
Completely off topic. Apologies, folks.
But it's related because it's a Netflix movie. But like, so that
we'd cut this out if it wasn't live, but it's live. So,
but Bernie was based on an article in Texas Monthly by Skip Hollandsworth or something like that. And that same author wrote another article in that same publication. And Richard Linklater is doing another movie based on that called Hitman. And it stars Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick, and that's coming out later this year. So I hear it's really good. It played at the festivals. But so if you're looking for a kind of spiritual successor to Bernie, I think that might be similar because it's based on another article by the same author as Bernie.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, Chewbacca's Lover. $5 super chat. Sucker Punch is one of those movies that people are reevaluating as an underrated film. There are people saying it's a masterpiece that we misunderstood. I don't believe any of that. You know, like, again, don't want to be disingenuous. I don't want to go back to it. So, like, it would be unfair for me to, like, say anything having not seen it in, like, 15 years or whenever that came out. But, yeah, that sounds like people kind of lowering standards because they feel bad about what's happened with Snyder's career, I think. But
so I saw this interview with Snyder recently where he said that he has a director's cut of Sucker Punch. He says that's like the one movie he's made that he has unfinished business with. And I thought that had an extended cut when it was released on Blu-ray.
oh, I don't know.
What's the deal? Just he said that he's talked with people at the studio about getting that director's cut out eventually, but be prepared for more of those. It's an underrated, underappreciated, misunderstood gem.
Because you haven't,
that director's
yeah,
cut
because you haven't
comes
seen
out.
the real one yet. There's also
haven't seen it.
there's also a difference between extended cuts and director's cuts. So like they could
That's
put
true,
10
that's
more
true.
minutes in, and he could be like, well, yeah, but I've got another 5 hours, and we should add all that.
That's
back
true.
in.
That'll be his Blade Runner, where they just have 5 cuts of it.
Yeah, and with a bunch of more voiceover, I'm sure. Jar Jar Ed, $2 super chat. Just name the robot Creepio and be done with it.
Pretty good.
Is he creepy? I didn't mind the robot design.
No, I thought he was
Yeah.
a cool design.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about the robot.
Okay, talk about the robot, Jason.
So
The robot in the room.
this robot comes out, and I'm like, great, it's a robot. Because of course
You
there's
like
gotta
robots?
be but of course there's gotta be a robot in your Star Wars ripoff. Because of course.
Well, we haven't even talked about the Force yet. This movie has the Force too, or at least it has.
Kind of.
Or at least it has a Princess Leia with superpowers.
Yeah. Issa.
Issa.
Because
Princess
everyone
Issa.
named Issa has superpowers in this movie, and it's really funny.
Yeah, did you pick up on that, Connor? Where they're like, we named her Issa. That's based on a mythological character in this universe whose name means the life bringer. And I'm like, so wait, you named her that before you realized she had the power to bring things back to life? Well, that's prophetic.
So yeah, this robot was like a defender of the king.
Of the slain
Of the
king.
slain king.
Right.
And it has a thing.
Connor, I know
he
that
has a
because I'm
thing-
the biggest Rebel Moon
Right.
fan.
Good.
He has a good. He has a thing where he can't fight. Now that the king is dead, and then he shoots someone in the face because he likes this like 15-year-old girl, and
Everyone in the Imperium likes this girl, all right?
yeah,
Like, everyone. Even the
everyone.
robots.
It's really funny. Even this robot, and
And
he
everything
kills-
about that scene is contrived because you have
Yeah.
the token, Imperium guy who goes against the rapist, and I'm like, how are you the only person where this is a bridge too far? And like, how did you get this far with the Imperium? And you know, he's just the obligatory guy that's like, oh, this is enough, and goes against it. Like, I didn't buy any of that.
Right. And so so the big thing happens where he's like, oh man, I gotta do something about this because I don't like this. And so
You're talking about the
robot, and so he holds the gun. He takes a gun from I don't even know where he gets it from. I can't remember.
It was like someone had died and like there was laying on the
Yeah.
He
ground,
picked it
so
up,
picks it
he holds it, he looks at it, and then he looks at the guy, and then it shoots, and it shoots him in the face, and he holds it like, I don't even know how any of that happens.
You're
Because
really
he
on
doesn't
about
do
this.
it.
I thought it was sideways, but I thought he pulled the trigger. I don't know.
I don't
Yeah,
know
I thought he pulled the
how-
trigger too.
I don't know how he did, but
He has eyes on the side of his face.
right, because he's just looking at it.
Yeah, like
Right.
he could like mathematically figure out like, okay, if I'm holding
Right.
a gun like right here,
So
his
that
head's there,
happens, and then he just is gone, And the first time we watched this in 2 parts, and I honestly completely forgot
because there was no sitting through this in one sitting. Okay, we needed a break,
and that's why it feels like 2 movies, because it already does. And we paused it at the exact time where it's 2 movies, and so he just doesn't come back for the rest of the movie, and then at the end of the movie he just has antlers. I don't know what's happening.
He has become the god king of the grain. He has taken over the village. He's the ruler of the village.
He's the ruler of the titular rebel moon.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins.
Well, and like you said earlier, it feels like we're establishing a big relationship and subplot with him and that girl.
Yeah.
And they both disappear the whole movie. And so, like, obviously they're going to do more stuff with that in the second part, but structurally it's just really awkward that we don't come back to them.
Yeah.
But my big beef with that whole thing is, I think I get what, on first viewing I was like, okay, wait, we were told that these robots can't fight back because of something in their programming after the king died. It's kind of a big mystery. It's like we don't know why they're built that way. And then he's able to do that. And so I'm like, well, you just told us that he can't, and now he can. And the reason that's a problem is because, like, I think what they're doing is the kind of Asimovian, you know, the robot finds its humanity thing. Wow, we did that fast.
Mm-hmm.
If that's what it is, we did that really fast. So it happened so quickly, it feels like a contradiction. I don't think it is. I think it's just poorly constructed.
No, I had that same kind of battle within where I'm like, I think it is trying to have some kind of say something about the humanity even of like a machine, but because he talks about feeling warmth when the coronation of the little girl happened, and then a few days later, you know, the absence of that when she was murdered. Everyone could just feel the king's death instantly. So it is kind of speaking maybe to some kind of spiritual soul of a robot, I guess. But so who wants to bet me? I think they're going to reveal that Korra slayed the king and the little girl. I think
maybe so.
That's what it's going to be. That's my prediction.
Maybe it's the Viserious... so he raises her to be this like super killer, and then he got her to kill the king, and then that was the bridge too far for her that makes her run off and start thinking about rebellion, or at least just hiding.
Yeah, because like he gets her the position as bodyguard of the little girl, and I think that'll get her close to them.
There you go. Yeah, that's Shakespearean, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. I didn't have that thought. That's got to be what it is.
That's my prediction for part 2.
I think the royalty thing is really awkward because when you get the exposition at the beginning of everything that was wrong with this empire that eventually becomes this evil Imperium, like, it didn't sound like a great thing in the first place. But we treat the king and the queen's death is this horrible tragedy where simultaneously they're like misguided and kind of awful, but they're also played as endearing, and it's sad that they're dead. And I laughed out loud, and so did Jayson, when you get the flashback with the king. That's like, my daughter is gonna have all the compassion that I'm lacking, and I'm like, why don't you just stop being an a-hole to people? I don't know. Like, he's self-aware enough to know that he's, like, that he is cold and doesn't care about people, but, like, it bothers him that he's that way. I'm like, well, there's maybe a path forward where you could just be a more benevolent king. I don't know.
He stands on a podium in front of legions of SS officers, and he's like... It's like, you will have the kindness I don't possess. Like, what?
What he this is gonna sound awful, and like it's kind of, you know, maybe crazy to say this in front of my 13-year-old son, but if he feels that bad about the way he treats his subjects, and he thinks that his daughter is the answer, I'd just kill himself. I'd just shoot himself in the head, right? Like, it's really weird that he's like, well, at some point I'll die, and then everything will be fine. That's basically what he's saying. Maybe he needs her to grow up and then he'll shoot himself in the head. I don't know. But he's basically just like, I'm too far gone. I'm awful. It's so weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just start treating people better? I don't know.
Yeah, usually you're like that. That's another thing.
I
where
don't
it does
really mean
feel
he
like,
should kill himself. I'm just saying, like, he's just so defeatist. It's weird.
It is weird because it's like usually in like these kind of mythic stories, there's like the good king, the good family, and then like the bad king and stuff. And it did sort of feel like they had all this backstory, and in order to kind of keep it streamlined, because it is just backstory, like it's not really the plot at hand. They did need it felt a little truncated, like they were maybe taking different things and putting it together and condensing.
Well, and
But I could be wrong.
I don't like, you know me, I resist too much in the way of flashback, but because we're doing as much as we are, you might as well do more of it, I guess. Like maybe open with some of the real crucial stuff, like actually in scene, because I have a really hard time latching on to what that world looks like at all before the Imperium takes over, and I needed a couple viewings before I even knew what Anthony Hopkins was talking about in the opening.
Yeah, he kind of just dumps it on you, doesn't he? It's
Well,
like,
and I mean, to be fair, like, the Star Wars crawl does that too, but you know what the difference is? You can ignore the crawl and fully understand what's happening in Star Wars. This is not like that. If you're not paying a lot of attention, the background is not given to you naturally throughout the course of the movie like it is in Star Wars. I gotta be honest with you, I've never, like in the theater, really read a Star Wars crawl that hard. Like, I've never really paid that much attention to it. You shouldn't have to.
I guess not, yeah. But yeah, but like even in the Star Wars crawl, like the actual information is pretty basic and just giving you the setup for what you're going to be looking at pretty soon.
Yeah.
When it comes to this, it's like 1,000 kings led in succession, unchallenged, and then one day one was murdered, and then this other guy took up the position of regent. And
yeah, I'm like, could you slow down? I
yeah,
need to take some notes. Like,
yeah, and it's like, what?
maybe the excuse is, well, it's Netflix. You can pause it and write some things down.
Maybe it's not like the opening crawl of Star Wars was. There was a republic, and then an evil empire took over it. And right now, the last remnants of the Galactic Senate are kind of, in contention with the more fascistic elements of the Emperor, who's trying to disband them through Grand Moff Tarkin. And it's like it doesn't go into that. It just says there's Princess Leia, and she's with some rebels, and they just won against the evil empire. Go.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this movie might as well have come out and had Anthony Hopkins say, "There's heroes on both sides." Dan Snyder, $2 super chat. I agree with Cap. Every movie is sexless now. I mean, I don't mean every movie. Like that's hyperbolic, but I'm seeing enough of that, especially with mainstream stuff and blockbusters, that I do kind of get excited when we're even allowed to have a romantic subplot anymore. When I was growing up, it was like it was the formula where like every movie had to have that, and it starts to feel obligatory, and you wonder why two characters even get together and fall in love. Now my standards are lowered to the point where I kind of get excited when characters fall in love, even if I don't buy the chemistry anymore. But I don't want to say I agree with Dan Snyder again.
Yeah, but now Dan Snyder agrees with you.
Right. The difference is my name actually is Captain Logan.
Right.
It's my actual name. It's
Captain...
on my birth certificate.
Yeah.
Darth Bobo. Guys, it's a deep film. The Nazi allegory makes this a smart film, according to Snyder, like Jesus Superman.
Well, I like the part where Superman shed a tear because Jesus wept.
Right. That's the shortest verse in the Bible. I don't know why it went on as long as it did in that movie.
Well, it's the longest Superman film, so symmetry, right? So.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to read some of these comments real quick. We're almost to 2 hours. we should go ahead and make sure this stream is not much longer than that on this material. Jar Jar Ed, the plot of this movie is just a Warhammer 40K session of Zack Snyder playing with his friends.
That's really funny.
It does have that kind of RPG sort of element where it's like, if you had too much clout in Hollywood and you just liked playing RPGs, this would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Darth Bowo, that taming the Griffin scene was awful. The scene was like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, it took him like 2 seconds, and then that guy tried to get on
mean
it like
Watto?
Malfoy.
Watto shows up and he's like, "I've got a chance cube here," and he's like, if I win. Then you all get what does he say? Chains and a shackle. And I'm like, so Turok had to pay off his debt, and it was like 10, 15 seasons. He says, see, I'm a really big Rebel Moon fan. I know all of this. He like 10, 15 seasons, and his debt would be paid off. And he needed like 300,000 quatlus or whatever to get out of it. And but when Watto is like, you're gonna I'm gonna enslave all of you. I'm like, that's the deal? For how long? And they just agree to that?
That
there's
was
no
like,
terms.
all of the subplots are like is all the little side quests they go on. That felt like, I know they like tried maybe pitching this as a video game or something. That felt like the subplot, like mini game where you have to go like ride a griffin or something. But like that was weird where they're just like, all right, how about this? You can get my debt settled, or you can become my slaves. And they all just go, yeah, all right. Like, if that was me, I'd be like, hey, let's talk about this.
And keep in mind, they ain't Qui-Gon Jinn. They don't have the Force.
Yeah, Sophia Boutella should just be like, so let's go see if we can find the blood axes. Let's maybe we can come to this later.
Yeah, it's just this random guy with abs. Like, you don't really need him. He doesn't really do anything in the movie.
No, you're right. Why are they putting their lives on the line to make sure that Turok the dinosaur hunter is part of their party?
You're right.
Well, it's because Kai swears he's got skills.
And remember, Kai's gonna double cross them.
There's no dinosaurs.
This shady pirate we just met, swears.
He swears,
okay?
right?
We don't know if he's a shady pirate yet, though.
No, he clearly is. And let's chance it so that we might get enslaved, just so we can make sure that this guy can like swing on a rope at the end.
The ending of that was also hilarious, where he's like, "Come on, Griffin, let's tell them that we're more than the chains that bind us."
Yeah,
and then he like rides the Griffin.
And then I'm sitting there like, wait,
there's the fear of ourselves.
And I'm like, does the Griffin understand him?
I guess he does, because then he goes, "See ya, sucker," and puts the chain back on him and gets out of there.
Yeah, and then Watto is an idiot at the end of that for going up to the Griffin and thinking that now that Turok rode around on him, he's gonna be able to like perfectly tame him. I was like, what are you even doing? Like, and it's like Turok knew that was gonna happen. He's like, good girl, way to stab him with your talons.
Way to kill this man.
You're still in chains, but you know. You got him.
That was all really baffling.
And also, Turok is like supposed to be your like one-liner character, right? Where he has all the one-liners, but all of his one-liners suck. It's like he's like, "Oh, now I kind of wish we hadn't killed the bad guy." What are you talking about?
There's a lot of baffling dialogue like that.
Yeah, there is. Especially kindness is a virtue worth dying for.
Dan's Dan, Zack Snyder just likes things because they're cool. Yeah, I think Connor's giving Snyder a little bit too much credit.
Look, I think I'm giving him a little bit more credit than, what I'm seeing here based on like the artistic intention or the idea of what he's trying to get at. I think actually from a direction point of view, this is quite weak and
Yeah.
pretty much definitely the weakest directing effort I've seen from him. And it's not just like shots, it's like just like blocking is it's like a prequel where like characters will just be standing perfectly still, just staring at each other, and they're not like doing anything. They're just like looking at each other, and the camera will just like be stationary, just looking at their face, and they'll just go on this like 2 minute monologue about like their backstory. It's really like strange.
Yeah, if we were still doing boards, I would have said, at least on the first viewing, like this movie made me feel like watching episode one, like immediately after it. I like when I'm thinking that is a way superior and more watchable and fun experience. Something is really wrong with your Star Wars knockoff movie. Because really, all the way
I
through, I
agree.
kept thinking
Yeah.
of that, and again, I don't mean to be hyperbolic. Where like I'm just comparing it to other things I don't like very much, but like I really was getting nostalgic for episode one watching this. I was like, no, I'd rather be watching that.
Yeah, I mean, like the pod race is more thrilling than any of the action scenes in this.
Yeah, and I don't know. There was a surprising
Also, I
amount of
think,
specifically that movie, but like
mhm.
there's a lot of prequels and sequel stuff in this.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. There is.
Edgar Gonzalez, well, I'll just read a couple more of these. I'm glad he brought this up. He says, a bit behind on the stream, but I am shocked how much merchandise this got. We talked about that a little bit at the beginning, but he's bringing up stuff I didn't know about. Funko Pops we talked about, but he says, Diamond Select figures,
What?
Bandai Fig Arts figures,
Wow.
and I think Hot Toys announced the license too.
Wow.
And this movie is not toyetic most of the time. And when it is, it's very rip-offy, right? Like if I was gonna actually buy, well, let's face it, I'm gonna buy everything short of Hot Toys. But if I wasn't the biggest fan in the world of this movie, and I was actually listening to my criticisms, the only things I would think about buying probably would be maybe a Nemesis figure because the hat is cool,
Yeah.
and Turok because Turok already looks cool.
Yeah.
But like they just put Turok in their movie and called him Turok. I still can't believe they just put Turok in their movie. It's nuts.
Every time you guys say that, it gets funnier to me because I have no idea who Turok is.
I'll- So Turok was a comic first, I think, and then got popular in video games, starting with the 64. And I don't remember who published him, but he's basically like a Conan the Barbarian type, but he's in dinosaur times.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
he's
cool.
he's Turok Dinosaur Hunter, and
See,
I
oh, sorry. What was that,
I
Jason?
finally played the game at the video game museum. I've always wanted to play it. I finally played it, and it's actually really fun.
They have a whole wall right now at the Texas Video Game Museum dedicated to Turok.
Well, it's dedicated to Native Americans,
What?
and so it has a
I
lot
thought it
of
was all.
Turok.
I thought it was all Turok stuff.
But it has
It's
some
Native
other-
American in video game stuff. I couldn't name another one, and I didn't even know that Turok was supposed to be a native. Is he Native American?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I
think-
didn't know that. Well, I guess there's a lot of dinosaur lore in the United States, though. Like the coolest dinosaur is not the Velociraptor, in fact, but the Utah Raptor, which is a raptor that lived in Utah of
What?
all places. Really, the only cool thing about Utah, probably,
It had a raptor.
is that it had a raptor. Yeah, I think they have an
But no,
okay
it's just-
basketball team. I don't know.
It's just funny because it's like you're like, I mean, it's Turok, obviously. It's like, and it makes me feel like it's like I don't know who Sherlock Holmes is, or like, wow, there's probably this super famous like folk character that like everyone knows about but me. But
Well,
funny.
it's relatively obscure if you didn't grow up at a certain time, right? Like I only know about Turok because that was a really popular 64 game.
Okay.
And
No,
And
it's
I
fine.
only
I'm
know
not-
about Turok
trying to-
because, I'm in the video game circle a lot.
No, yeah. No. I mean, don't. No, don't feel shame about knowing who Turok is.
Well, I
think it's
also
funny that
referenced
don't.
Shakon the Forever Man, and that's very underground. But I'm telling you, this woman is just Shakon the Forever Woman. Bob the Hun, $5 super chat. Phantom Menace, for all its story flaws. You just made the same point I did. It had a better aesthetic and really cool visuals. Bad CGI aside, the prequels look great. But I mean, at the point where you have to discount the CGI, I don't see how you can say they look great.
No.
Because so much of them is CGI.
I think the prequels sans Attack of the Clones look great. Like
Yeah,
I think
Attack of the Clones looks awful.
I think Phantom Menace, like that CGI holds up actually. Like the battle droids look great. Like a lot of it does hold up, I think. And I mean, I think Phantom Menace is the best prequel. So maybe but like yeah, like by 99 we knew how to integrate CG with like 35 millimeter film very well. I think by the time in 2002, what's cool about Attack of the Clones is that it's the first Hollywood production to be entirely shot digitally, but I don't think we really knew how to integrate CG into that polished, clean digital cinematography just yet. But by 05, it looked much better.
I slaughter them like animals.
He could never quite get the dialogue to mesh with the aesthetic very well, though.
No, I'm glad you gave us that history lesson because I didn't realize that was the first movie all shot on digital. That explains a lot.
Yes,
but like Phantom Menace looks like a movie, and Attack of the Clones looks like this movie if it was shot in a much larger living room. It also kind of has that. This movie is shot in a living room and then in maybe a couple of mobile homes for the spaceship. And it's kind of amazing that both their low rent Millennium Falcon, which was already the low rent Millennium Falcon, and the Imperium ships all kind of look like they're from different trailer parks. Like they look really bad and I never thought this was a criticism I would ever bring up in a stream, Connor. But it stuck with me and I can't help but bring it up because I laughed out loud both times I watched this movie and it happened. Worst, fakest, most cartoonish, hilarious, outside of a ship gun turrets.
Oh my gosh, the gun turrets
I've ever seen. Yeah, I'm talking about the gun turrets. Did you notice it? Were you not laughing your ass off at the gun turrets?
I mean, I noticed it, but what made you laugh about it? Because I didn't really pay much attention.
Well, I mean, it looks
the
terrible,
PS1 graphics.
Oh well,
like the way it moves. Oh, hey, talk about the Skylander.
Oh yeah, the Skylander character. I don't even remember what planet this is on. I don't even remember what part. It's the most. So
you remember Noble raises this planet?
Yeah.
Because they helped the rebels.
Yeah.
And the leader of it is like trying to appeal to his humanity and has none, and so he kills them again with his bone stick.
Yeah, and the leader. Oh yeah. And the leader is the most CGI looking thing I've ever seen. Like ever. He looks like. He doesn't even look Phantom Menace good. Like he
looks like he's out of a PS3 game.
And he looks like a Skylander. It's really funny. He looks like he could be in Skylanders.
Yeah, like if they were still making Toys to Life games, he would have a Toys to Life figure.
Yeah. He looks like
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Bob the Hum, when I say they look great, I mean the designs of the environment, aliens, and tech.
Well, I mean, this movie kind of has that too, except it doesn't.
A lot of the designs for things are kind of generic, but even with Attack of the Clones, like there are a few like creatures and things that I guess are cool, but most of the even designs of things I like in that movie were already made for Phantom Menace, I think.
Yeah, I've never been crazy about the super battle droids. I prefer the kind of more nimble, regular Episode 1 battle droids.
Although
I like the droidicas from Episode 1.
Yeah, although I do like the atmosphere and alien designs and stuff when you go to What's the cloning planet?
Camino.
Camino. Yeah, that whole thing is cool. I do like the designs of all of that.
Camino. Is
Yeah,
that
the
really
ostrich
what it's
people.
called?
Yeah, Camino.
Yeah.
What's funny about Camino?
I don't know. That
Well, episode 2 does have my favorite design, which is Dexter Jetster. So big ups to Attack of the Clones.
Okay, Connor. A big thing you wanted to bring up that we haven't talked about with this with this epic, wonderful space fantasy film
I wanted to quickly
that I'm gonna
mention
watch
that,
so many times now.
well, I mean, you are the biggest fan. So,
I am the biggest fan. You know, I'm being
you look at that
facetious. I'm
release
telling
strategy.
you, I am seriously thinking about collecting this stuff.
Well, you will be the only one who probably does. So good luck. It's probably a very attainable thing to collect.
I gotta support
It
it.
is kind of interesting.
I might
that
wait
this
till the
is-
pops are $3 a piece, but I'm gonna collect it.
They'll be yours, darn it. Yeah, it is kind of interesting how Netflix keeps trying to get into the Zack Snyder business. This is kind of like the second time they've tried launching like a cinematic universe, multimedia thing around one of his properties. And I'm curious to know how this one's going to go. For all its faults, Army of the Dead was more memorable than this was to me.
Yeah, I flipped green on that. Like kind of.
did?
Yeah, and I mean, I've been afraid to go back and watch it again. But and it was kind of a lackluster Seinfeld. But like, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. It's not great, but like, I could take it more seriously. And obviously, it's something of a comedy. But like, I can take it as a piece more seriously than this. And like, people complained about some of the green screen and stuff with that movie too, because of COVID stuff, where you have characters that clearly weren't in scenes and in scenes with each other and stuff, which I didn't notice. And then I got into this, and again, it looks like a COVID movie, like a lot more than that did.
Yeah. I think that so with starting with Army of the Dead, and then going into Rebel Moon, Zack Snyder is acting as his own director of photography, and it's interesting kind of seeing how he's doing. So like, I saw an interview with he did where he was talking about why that was, and it was because like when you get to productions of a certain size, it's like especially now, they have what's called video village, because things are shot digitally and you can like look at the monitors, and you can have a bunch of like executive producers and like all these people like looking at the monitors under a tent, and all the camera operators and like gaffers and people are over on set over there. And he was kind of feeling like as the budgets were getting bigger and bigger, he was like not on set like getting his hands dirty with the actors, like building the movie. And so he said he wanted to get more to that kind of smaller feel where he's there making the movie with everyone else. And I can understand where he's coming from, and I find it admirable to do that. And but I think that like whether it is a lack of budget or it is just a lack of experience being a director of photography, a lot of this is pretty limited, because it's like I hear people talk about like, oh, Zack Snyder should just be a director of photography because his movies look really good, but maybe he's not that great of a storyteller. I think he's a better aesthetic coordinator than he is maybe a director of photography, because the difference is Larry Fong was the director of photography for Watchmen and like Batman versus Superman, not Zack Snyder. And those movies do look really, really good.
And Watchmen. Yeah, I mean, you can't give Zack Snyder as much credit as maybe you want to for what that looks like.
Yeah, and it's like, obviously you got to give him credit for working with Larry Fong, but I think in kind of these things, directors do often get credit for how movies look, when I think cinematographers bring a lot to that, and they're working with the directors, because now, again, the budget is a factor, obviously, with these last two movies, but I do think in its bones, the cinematography here is weaker than those really good-looking Zack Snyder movies. So just wanted to throw that out there.
No, without a doubt. I'm glad you said that. And this is going to sound really terrible, but then, like, it feels like he's not playing to his strengths. And then you start to go, okay, what is he good at? Like, what is Zack Snyder's actual, honest-to-God talent? Like, and like I don't. Again, I'm trying to think of different or better words. Like I don't mean to be disingenuous. But is the guy just good at delegation? Like, is that his because he can't write a script. He's not a great storyteller apart from like, in the scene making things, maybe kind of look cool. But even then, in a music video kind of way. But
Yeah,
even
I
then,
think
his
he.
director of photography makes a big difference. He has a huge problem in various movies with not establishing shots early on enough where you can see everything and know where people are, and giving enough coverage to things. That seems like a very basic thing that a director should
Yeah.
be able to know how to do. And this movie doesn't have that problem, which is a shame because it doesn't even have sets. But then you
Hmm.
have built sets in Man of Steel that you don't even get to see. It's preposterous.
Yeah, I would describe like I think he is. I know people want to say like he's like a Michael Bay, he's like a this, he's like a that. I think honestly the filmmaker I would compare him most to is Tim Burton, in that he is more of like an aesthetic coordinator, where he knows what it's supposed to look like, he knows what it's supposed to feel like, he knows what it's supposed to sound like, he knows, like you said, he's really good at delegation. Maybe like he understands broadly like what everything is supposed to be like, and he knows who to get in order to bring that vision to life. Um, but yeah, he isn't as strong of like imbuing his own identity into stuff like into like the storytelling or like the cinema of it as someone like a Stanley Kubrick or like Christopher Nolan and David Fincher and any other like A-list director I could name. But
Yeah, like I
I
like
don't
to
know.
I like to compare him to Todd McFarlane in that the man doesn't know what good stories look like and doesn't play to his strengths enough. But the difference between him and McFarlane is I can tell you what that guy's good at. Like he's a brilliant
Mhm.
artist. I like Snyder. I don't really know what his talent is. I just know that I have liked some movies he's made, or at least I've liked what's and then what some of them have looked like.
Mhm. No, that's a good point.
So like, I don't mean to be hyperbolic or facetious about it. Like, and it's funny because every time we talk about Snyder, I can't help but bring up like, and he seems like a really nice guy.
That's the other thing. I always feel bad because I don't think I've liked a single Zack Snyder movie, but I think I've seen all of them because I do find them interesting.
You kind of
And
root for him, right?
yeah, and like you look at interviews, like
I don't mean to be
he's such an
condescending. Like I find
no,
myself
no,
kind of
no, yeah.
rooting for him.
Well, and that's the other thing is it's like he's been around for a while and he's been made a little bit of a punching bag over the years. I have never heard anybody who has ever worked with him say a single bad thing about him, and he always gets people to re-collaborate with him time and time again. So he's clearly like a really cool guy. I would love to meet him and hang out with him and talk with him. I just would feel bad because I don't really like his movies, but I like him.
Yeah, and what is with this like all or nothing thing in Hollywood? It's like you can make like weird, baffling, terrible movies, and we can wonder what your talents even are, but be like this sounds super condescending, but I'm just calling it like I'm seeing it. And be like the coolest, nicest person. Nobody has a bad thing to say about you, or you can be like Kevin Spacey. You can be like
Yeah, yeah.
just like the most brilliant at your craft, but a horrible human being that should never be allowed around like children or human beings. Like I don't, I don't understand the world we live in sometimes.
It's a shame. It really is. Like it's a shame.
Okay, we're getting late. We're already well past 2 hours. Was there anything else you want to bring up?
Not really.
Are you good to go?
Yeah.
We're we're gonna review the second one when it comes out. Connor, you're welcome back if you want to come back. You don't have to. It's totally up to you. But we are definitely going to talk about it, and I think we might even do a blind watch of the R-rated version when it comes
I
out.
want to.
And I expect these things to get no views because no one will care about them. But we are dialed in
Yeah.
to the Rebel Moon craze that we're going to
It's
try to help.
sweeping the nation.
We're gonna try to help create here. Well, and again, like it seemed to get watched. I don't think anybody will buy merchandise for it.
It is strange how all in it sounds like they're going on this. Like that's crazy.
And it sounds
Like I didn't see
all
Merc for the
stuff
Gray Man.
it sounds like all the stuff he tried to do with Army of the Dead or whatever the heck it's called is really going to happen with this, at least for a while.
Maybe like Army of the Dead did get a prequel movie on Netflix.
Did it
But no one
really?
watched-
That
it's
came
called
out?
Army. Yeah, it's called Army of Thieves, and it's about the safecracker fellow.
Who directed it?
The safecracker actor directed the movie.
Crazy.
Like he's the main character. He's like the director of it. Like
It's
I
a
haven't
full
seen
movie?
it.
It's not a short film?
It's a full movie. Like I didn't even hear about this till like over a year after it came out. Like it's a movie.
Wild.
Yeah, it is.
Plushie DX, maybe the Snyder fans will come to yell at you. Snyder fans have spent money on crazier things. I'm gonna say it here now. I will make sure that I am the bigger Rebel Moon fan over the Snyder simps or Snyder bros or whatever you want to call them. Like I'm not that person. I don't think this material is very good. I'm all in on it. I'm gonna play the video game. I'm gonna do all of it.
Cap can play Rebel Moon.
It's all about Nemesis. I want to get her hat. Anyway.
Oh, sorry. I have to throw that out there. That's one thing about the story that didn't make any sense, or like not that it didn't make any sense. It feels like it's missing. Or like Nemesis is like there's a difference between vengeance and justice. And not about justice. And then they go over to the very next person they meet is Jaimin Hansu, and they're like, well, if you can't seek redemption, you can seek revenge. And he stands up dramatically. And then how come at no point does Nemesis go, wait a minute, hold up.
That's not okay.
No.
Nah, well, we're all fighting for the same thing, I guess. Or at least we're fighting the same enemies, so whatever. There's a thing I want to say about Noble, too. I'm sorry, we will finish up, I promise. Go ahead.
There's a line that we forgot to talk about.
Go ahead.
With Kai, where at the end, I don't know if you I almost forgot.
Connor, have you not been thinking about our old friend Kai this entire time?
Oh no, I've been meaning to say Kai, my colleague from Who Reviews the Reviewers. He's a musician,
he's
filmmaker,
making movies now. Yeah.
He is, yeah, music and movies. Good on. He's gonna be in Cool Duder. That guy's directing.
Is he
now.
really?
He was cast in Cool Duder's new movie. Yeah.
I can't remember what that's called. He's been making a lot of horror movies lately. I actually follow Cool Duder. I don't know if you know that. I've watched him for years.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. But yeah, Kai did like a song that's for the soundtrack, and then was able to get into the movie because of that.
That's cool.
So, what's her face? Cora? Is that her name? Okay.
Cora the Explorer.
Yeah. So she asks Kai, she's on the thing, the spider thingy, and she asks Kai what happened to Honor.
Oh my god.
And he's like, what did happen to it? And I'm like, what is that answer?
What does that even mean? You don't believe in Honor? Again, you're about where the wind blows. I thought of 50 other things he could have responded with. Who cares about Honor? Honor doesn't matter. Honor's not gonna save you.
He just says, what did happen to it? And then we just move on.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that was a line I've been racking my brain trying to remember. Yeah, that's the best example of those just baffling ways to end a scene kind of lines. What did happen to it? Mic drop. Okay, so you know what's gonna happen with Noble with the next movie, right? They're gonna be really super lame about it, and he's been brought back from the dead, and he's gonna come in and he's just gonna look exactly like he did before. Like, I got through this whole movie and I kept thinking, okay, again, this doesn't feel toyetic enough. At some point, is he gonna look different? He's gonna get like a cool costume or something, you know, or is it gonna be like Bullseye and Daredevil? You know, I want a bloody costume, and then he never gets his costume. Well, you get to the end of this, and he dies, and he gets jacked in the Matrix, and he talks to Palpatine, and Palpatine's like, oh, you gotta go get my daughter. I want her alive. What's wrong with you? And then I'm thinking, okay, this is where he should like get his cool Darth Vader suit, right? Like
He should,
he
at
should be
least have
so
like a cool like red costume or something like that.
My
Like,
point though is, I thought the whole point of like killing him like that and bringing him back was gonna be they've got to, like with Darth Vader, put him in some kind of a suit so he can survive or something.
Yeah.
Like, why would you do it like that if you're not gonna rip it off right? You know, like why not do some kind of like more machine than man thing? They're not gonna do that. He's gonna come back and he's just gonna be the same guy, right?
I think he's in the trailer and for
just looks
2,
the same,
and he just looks the exact same.
I hate that. I freaking hate that.
You said it's not toyetic enough. I agree. Because, like, can you imagine getting the hot toy? Like, you have a friend who comes over. It's like, so, why do you have a hot toy of a Nazi just, like, sitting like, in your office?
Why are you such a Goebbels fan? Why do you have a... Why do you have
a Turok figure?
Why do you have a giant 10-inch figure of Goebbels from World War II German history? What is wrong with you?
Like there was like I gotta go.
Like, hey, look. The better question is, why did Hot Toys make this Nazi propaganda figure? That's what you really gotta wonder.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no, they should just get the Turok license. They've got the actor for it.
Yeah, he would be awesome for that.
I actually kind of enjoyed that.
Maybe that's what Zack Snyder just needs to make a Netflix Turok movie.
Oh no.
Call it a day.
No, don't let Snyder make it.
Let Snyder make it.
Turok's
just gonna win.
I'd rather the guy that made 65 make it. And Jayson loved that movie.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, that would. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get going. Everybody, thanks so much for watching, and strap in, get ready for more Rebel Moon content. I wanna make it its own channel. I just don't have time, you know.
It's that Rebel Moon Eclipse. There you go.
Somebody needs somebody needs a dedicated Rebel Moon channel. This movie is like if Orville wanted you to not remember Star Trek was a thing. Like that's what this is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Them that call themselves rebels. Yeah, what about them that call themselves Moon?
All right, we're going to get going. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again with more Geekvolution content next week. I was Captain Logan, and this was my son, Jayson.
That was me.
And we are now the biggest Rebel Moon fans. And we also had Connor Nielsen.
Gonna be brewing some Rebel Moonshine.
See you later, folks. Bye, everybody.